The observation deck of the Celestial Harmony hummed with the soft vibration of FTL engines, but inside the human quarters, two small figures pressed their faces against the reinforced viewport, watching the airlock corridor with unwavering intensity. Tavi's tail twitched nervously. The young Kashari cub, barely 3 cycles old by her species' reckoning, had been holding this position for the better part of an hour. Her golden fur rippled with barely contained energy, and her crystalline blue eyes never left the airlock door. Beside her, waiting with equal fervor but marginally more composure, sat her brother Kieran. His darker fur and broader build marked him as the elder by several months. Though neither cub had reached adolescence, they were refugees, orphans of the Kashari colony massacres, and they had been waiting. She said 3 hours, Tavi whispered, her translator collar rendering her chittering speech into standard. It's been 3 hours and 17 minutes. Diplomacy takes time, Kieran replied, though his own ears were pinned back with worry. Mira knows what she's doing. Mira, the human who had plucked them from the burning wreckage of their world. The human who had held them through their nightmares and taught them that not all bipeds with forward-facing eyes were predators. The human who had promised that she would return from the Conclave negotiations. The Galactic Conclave didn't like humans. Most species didn't. Humans were too aggressive, too stubborn, too willing to fight when the universe preferred to negotiate. They were Deathworlders, products of a planet so hostile that it had forged them into something the galaxy found simultaneously fascinating and terrifying. The Kashari genocide had been deemed an internal matter. 17 colonies, 4 million souls, reduced to ash by the Vrenth hegemony over a trade dispute, and the Conclave had done nothing until Mira had made them listen. What if they arrested her? Tavi's voice cracked. What if they decided humans are too dangerous? What if the airlock hissed, both cubs froze? Tavi's claws extended involuntarily, scraping against the metal deck. Kieran's pupils dilated to dinner plates. The inner door cycled open with agonizing slowness, and there she stood. Mira looked exhausted. Her dark hair had escaped its usual neat bun, falling in disarray around her brown face. Her formal diplomatic attire, a gesture to conclave sensibilities, was rumpled and creased. Dark circles shadowed her eyes and her shoulders sagged with the weight of 18 consecutive hours of negotiation. But she was smiling. That smile, small, genuine, touched with triumph and relief, transformed her entire face. It reached her eyes, crinkling the corners in that peculiarly human expression of joy that the cubs had learned to recognize and trust. "Hey, little ones," Mira began, her voice hoarse but warm. "I have good—" She didn't finish the sentence. Tavi launched herself across the 20 feet separating them with a velocity that would have impressed her species' ancient hunter ancestors. She was airborne for a glorious moment, paws outstretched, a chittering war cry erupting from her throat. Mira had exactly enough time to widen her eyes before 60 pounds of golden fur and enthusiasm collided with her chest. The impact drove them both backward. Mira's shoulders hit the airlock frame with a metallic clang, and she let out an oof that was half laugh, half wheeze. Her arms came up automatically, catching Tavi as the cub scrambled up her torso, tiny claws catching on expensive diplomatic fabric, face pressing into the crook of Mira's neck. Missed you, Tavi chattered, the words tumbling out so fast her translator struggled to keep pace. You were gone too long, and the Vrenth representative was on the newsfeed saying terrible things, and I thought they might hurt you, and... Kieran was only seconds behind, more controlled but no less desperate. He barreled into Mira's legs, wrapping his arms around her knees and nearly toppling all 3 of them. His deeper voice rumbled through his translator. We waited, just like you taught us, but it was hard. Mira slid down the wall until she was sitting on the deck, both cubs now firmly attached to her like barnacles on a ship's hull. She wrapped her arms around them, one hand stroking Tavi's trembling back, the other resting on Kieran's head, and just breathed. I know, babies. I know it was hard. Her voice was thick now, exhaustion and emotion blending together. But I promised I'd come back, didn't I? Humans keep their promises. Did they listen? Kieran asked, pulling back just enough to look up at her face. Did you make them listen? Mira's smile returned, fiercer now, with an edge that reminded both cubs why humans were called Deathworlders. They listened. The Conclave has officially recognized the Kashari genocide. They've sanctioned the Vrenth hegemony and... She paused, savoring the moment. They've granted humanity official protectorate status over Kashari refugee populations. Tavi's head snapped up, eyes wide. What does that mean? It means, Mira said, gently untangling Tavi's claws from her now ruined jacket, that you're safe. Officially. Any species that wants to harm Kashari refugees now has to go through humanity first. And let me tell you, I made sure they understood what that would mean. The implication hung in the air. Humans didn't have the largest fleets or the most advanced technology, but they had something the galaxy both feared and respected, an absolute unwillingness to abandon those under their protection. Human history was littered with last stands, with impossible odds overcome through sheer bloody-minded determination. The Conclave had learned, over humanity's brief century among the stars, that threatening something a human cared about was an excellent way to discover just how creative Death-World evolution could make a species when it came to violence. We're really safe? Tavi whispered. You're really safe, Mira confirmed. She pulled both cubs closer, resting her chin on Tavi's head. And I'm really home. Though next time maybe tackle me after I've had a chance to sit down. No promises, Tavi chirped, nuzzling deeper into Mira's embrace. You're the one who taught us that humans show love through physical affection. Kieran made a sound suspiciously like a laugh, a new skill he'd learned from Mira. She did kind of walk into that. Mira closed her eyes, feeling the warm weight of two small lives pressed against her, feeling their racing hearts begin to slow as relief replaced fear. She'd spent 18 hours verbally eviscerating some of the galaxy's most powerful diplomats, wielding human reputation like a weapon, making veiled and not-so-veiled threats, and ultimately forcing an interstellar body to acknowledge an injustice they'd preferred to ignore. She'd done it while running on 3 hours of sleep and pure, caffeine-fueled determination, and now she was sitting on a cold airlock floor, covered in cub fur and probably sporting bruises, with her expensive clothes ruined and her carefully maintained diplomatic composure thoroughly demolished. She'd never been happier. Worth it, she murmured into Tavi's fur. Every second of it. Worth it. The cubs didn't respond with words. They simply held on tighter, and in the quiet hum of the starship, 3 souls, 2 Kashari and 1 human, formed the kind of family the galaxy was only beginning to understand. Humanity had come to the stars not as conquerors, but as guardians. And the cubs waiting by the door would never doubt that their human would always come home smiling, even if they tackled her anyway.